Okay, dudes. So this is, so you probably looked over the Bulletproof meal plan. I decided to call it Bulletproof because of the thing that you're going to start your day with each time. I don't know if you've heard of Bulletproof coffee before. It's regular coffee. You're trying not to have a low-grade coffee if possible.
It is a good background song though, Eye of the Tiger. Should get you pumped up. Just put it on repeat.
Oh yeah, you had a sneaker above your head. Okay. Anyway, so trying to have a nice high-grade cup of coffee because anything low-grade is got chemicals in it. Really, that's what they do in order to make it not seem quite as bad, right? They highly process it, other things that they've done to it in order to make more money for themselves, but still give you something that tastes reasonable. So try and use a decent brand of coffee. You're going to add into that the grass-fed unsalted butter. Kerrygold's probably one of the easiest ones to find around. And then organic coconut oil. So what this is going to do is it's giving you brain food, really. So as you know, caffeine gives you some energy, but the omegas, they're called medium chain triglycerides that are in the coconut oil, and your brain literally feeds off of it. It's energy for your brain. So you'll have not just like a caffeine energy buzz in your brain, but also something like where you feel like you're just wide awake and normal and having a great day because of it. So it's really useful. Now, some people will not be hungry after having that. Some people will be more hungry. Some people might be normal. You got to gauge for yourself. So I wrote in there, you see in that you might not be hungry, you might not need to eat breakfast. If you're like, I don't even feel hungry, that's fine. I'll add in there to have a grapefruit, though. Grapefruit has an ingredient in it, naringenin, however you say it. And what it does is it makes the caffeine, it makes everything work better. So you'll see the asterisk there that says interacts with medication. It makes anything work better. So like if you're on high blood pressure medication, it makes it work better, right? So you can't be having grapefruit if you're on medications that will interact with, so you gotta be careful of that. But it's pretty cool to have grapefruit with caffeine. It makes you feel really, really, really good. Anyway, so that's the start of it. And then you'll see on the back side of the meal plan is the grocery list. Everything on that grocery list pertains to items in the meal plan. Obviously, that makes sense, right? But the thing is that I've kind of simplified things so you don't have a crazy grocery list. But when you're going shopping, start with your proteins. You don't have to have all of them, but if you don't get a variety of proteins, you're just limited in the variety of proteins you'll be able to eat, right? If you've got chicken and beef, guess what you're eating? Chicken, right? No. Same thing for carbohydrates. You don't have to have all of those on hand at all times, but whatever you got on hand, that's what you're using for your complex carbohydrate. So if you see in there that it's quinoa, and you're like, oh, I don't have any quinoa, I didn't get that, I got brown rice. That's fine, use brown rice. Okay? So that's kind of how that works. So Bobby's going to go over the breakfast options, just kind of explain things to you on that.
All right. So, options for breakfast. So it doesn't have to be exact. This is just general ideas of what you can do. Healthy, well-balanced nutrition in the morning. Half a cup oatmeal. If you cook it, it's going to be a lot more oatmeal than if it's raw. So if you like raw oatmeal, I actually eat raw oatmeal in the morning. You can have it raw or cook it. So having protein with your oatmeal, you always want to have that protein with your meals. So that's why I said you can kind of mix and match. You have 3 different options here. And not all nutrition is going to work for everyone, so not everybody's going to like eggs, so that's why there's 3 different options. Getting into the option number 3 down here, completely different setup than option number 1. So I guess, again, depends on what you like. So kind of go with what you like and also what you feel like works for you. Some people are going to have food allergies, some people can't have dairy, so give you a variety of different options there. And getting into lunch.
Let me bounce back real quick to meal option number 2. Oatmeal banana cookies. They're very tasty. Like, I'm not even kidding you, you're like, wait, this is only oatmeal and bananas? Like, they're very, very good. All you gotta do is you wait, you get your bananas, let them ripen until they start getting little brown spots on them. And what you're doing is you're waiting for them to actually become a little bit more sugary. When fruit ripens, it becomes more sugary, okay? So that's going to help it to taste a little bit more cookie-like, but it's just mashing up the bananas, mix it with the oatmeal. You can add really anything else to it that you want. You can add craisins, you can add raisins, you can add, well, maybe not dark chocolate chips, but if you're naughty, you could. You can even mix in protein powder with it to make them protein cookies. Like, they're very tasty, they're very simple to make, and you can make them on a mass scale. So this is one of those things that if you're like, gosh, I never have time to eat, I just need to eat something in the morning, right? Take some time, make a ton of oatmeal banana cookies, leave them in the fridge, and then when you're like flying out the door after you have your Bulletproof coffee, you can grab a couple of those cookies with you. Maybe a hard-boiled egg. Right, so there's lots of things in here that you'll be able to produce on a mass scale, and that's the whole meal prepping thing with all this.
And make sure that you're not just eating the cookies. It's a lot easier to eat a bunch of cookies than it is to eat a couple of eggs and then some cookies, because that protein is going to satisfy you a lot more than just the cookies alone. So make sure, go to 2 or 3, and then make sure you get your eggs in too.
On lunch now, the first option on lunch is a big salad. So this goes along with like meal prepping, okay? So if you don't already have a huge set of Tupperwares, just go buy the cheap Glad ones from Albertsons so you have a bunch of Tupperware to use. Because when you're making your food, so like when you're making salad, you can make like 4 salads. If you don't put the dressing on, it's going to stay just fine, right? And then you've got 4 Tupperwares of salads that you can eat. And that's the whole key to being ready to eat healthy, because eating healthy takes preparation. But if you have to make every single meal, every single time you're going to eat, you're not going to do it. There's just not that much time in a day. But if you take the time to make 4 meals while you're making 1, it only adds like, what, 10% more of time onto what you're doing, but now you have 4 meals. So that's what you have to do. You can't just make a meal. You have to make 4 meals every time you do it. And then life's easy because you're ready for the next meals, okay? In that first one you see there with the different ingredients, the different vegetables and stuff, they're totally interchangeable. If you have something else that you want, totally, have a different vegetable. I've got ground beef in there. If you don't want to use ground beef, you want to use chicken, fine, right? It all works. Garbanzo beans, doesn't matter. Use any beans, okay? The milled flax and the hemp seeds. This is kind of an important factor into eating low carb, is having healthy fats and adding healthy fats to everything. So like with food, you can have avocados, you can have olives. Like what other foods are there healthy fats? Like not really many others. You have nuts that have healthy fats in it. You can have salmon or fish that has healthy fats in it. But what is there that's, food, right? It's limited. But flax, hemp, and chia seeds, those are all really good sources of healthy fat. And by adding those in and not having as much of carbohydrates, you'll have the energy and you'll have like the stomach like hunger satiety, and that's kind of like another key point to have, okay? And then olive oil and balsamic vinegar. And if you find another dressing that you want to use that seems like it's kind of just like an olive oil base with other things and it's pre-made, that's okay. Just make sure to read the ingredients on it and make sure that it is something like olive oil with maybe some other stuff added to it for taste. Because dressings can get pretty tricky and they put other garbage in there that's bad for you. So, yeah, make your own, right? Beautiful. Perfect.
I just want to touch on the meal preparation in your Tupperware. If you're preparing 4 meals and you put it all in one Tupperware, chances are you're going to eat way too much at one time. So put it in 4 separate Tupperwares and evenly distribute your food. So that way you're portioned out your servings just right. It's very easy to just overeat if you have all your food in one container. Okay, so here's one of my favorite meals, chicken and yams. Can't go wrong with this. Makes you feel great, great food for a pre-workout. It satisfies you, it stays with you for a long time. It's a great carbohydrate, great protein. And then you got the broccoli or cauliflower down there at the bottom. I always like to have some kind of vegetable with your meal, so it's just a well-rounded meal, plenty of nutrients. It's a very low calorie count actually with this meal. So what you're looking for in most of this food is a very high nutritional content or very high nutrients with a pretty low calorie count. So that's calorically deficient and nutritionally dense, which is kind of what you're going for with most of this food. So that is a very solid meal right there. And option number 3, you just got a whole variety of good carbs. The quinoa and the black bean itself is actually a complete protein. You're going to eat beans, and you have to add a grain to it to make it a complete protein. So if for some reason you didn't have that ground beef in there, you still have a complete protein with the quinoa and the beans. So if you didn't have the ground beef, you could just up those, the quinoa and the black bean a little bit, you got a complete protein. And you got your healthy fats with your avocado. That cheese, go easy with the cheese. Everybody loves cheese, but too much cheese is a lot of calories. You got to remember that fat accounts for way more calories than protein and carbs. So you really got to watch how much fat you're adding to each meal.
It says 1 tablespoon, but that's not like a heaping tablespoon. It's like all mounded up. That's like a level tablespoon, right? So it's not a ton of cheese. It's just a little bit for taste. But feta's got pretty strong taste, so you don't have to have a ton. So go easy on it.
And now down to dinner.
So with dinner, you notice there it says eat 3 hours before bedtime. It's kind of important. Meal timing is really important, and as you get doing this more, you want to try and listen to your body and like, when do I feel hungry, and like, when was my last meal, and all that kind of stuff, right? If you try and time that dinner 3 hours before bedtime, you'll find that you're not like, oh my gosh, I'm so hungry, like, what do I do before bed? I can't go to bed this hungry. If 4 or 5 hours before bedtime, if you're eating like that, you're probably going to be hungry and need to have something before bed. So if you can make your meal timing in specific little intervals, it works a lot better for you. These ones here, they still have complex carbs in them. If you wanted to go lighter on complex carbs for the dinner meal, that's a good idea. It also depends on like how how you're feeling. If you're like raging hungry, maybe you had a killer workout, maybe your metabolism's rolling, and it can take those carbs and it uses them appropriately. It has to do with your lean body mass, has to do with the workout that you did that day. But with dinner time, scaling back on complex carbohydrates, it can be the smartest thing to do. So like with the first one there, the Brussels sprouts and the like Brussels sprouts actually have a fair amount of like, they got protein and fats, and like they're pretty cool little mini cabbage deals, right? So if you like them, but it says a handful, because that's really all you can have, like 4 or 5. Like you can't just eat a ton of them, just keep popping them, because they're action packed. Meal 2, this is a good one. Sweet potato nachos, okay? So, sweet potato nachos is another great thing to make on a large scale. Like I was saying, with all these, you can make them on a large scale. This one is particularly easy to make on a large scale because you put it on just a really big baking pan and put it in the oven. Okay, so it's got all those specific instructions here on how to make it, but you'll see all of the amounts for things that you're putting on there. You just need to double, triple, quadruple them in order to get 4 meal servings or whatever like that, right? And you're just thinly slicing up your sweet potato. You got to pre-cook them in the microwave so they're almost a little bit soft, and then you bake them. You can't rely on, because if you just try and bake it sliced up, it takes forever, like forever. And then you can't really have anything else with it. So it's just easier to throw in the microwave for like 5 minutes, let them soften up a little bit, then put them on the baking pan and start adding everything on top. Mini peppers and onions, are good to bake with it. Those will soften up nicely in there. Takes about 20 minutes. This is the only place you've got cheese besides that feta cheese. You've got a little bit of shredded low-fat. Like, you can go to Trader Joe's and they have the bags of low-fat Mexican cheese and shredded cheese. It's just, but you can't use a ton. Like, you'll see there, it's just a quarter cup. That's not a whole lot. That's seriously like taking 3 fingers and pinching and then sprinkling. That's all it is. But a little cheese is kind of nicer. Nachos, right? Makes you feel like you're not on too strict of a diet. So put a little of that on there. The olives and the tomatoes you want to put on after you're done baking. The ground beef, you're cooking in a pan on the stovetop anyway, so you can add that later. Yeah, and that's it. That's a really cool one you can have for any time. Oh, you can put Greek yogurt on that too instead of sour cream. And salsa, yummy. And might as well throw some hemp seeds and some flax seeds on there too while you're at it. Load it up.
Okay, so let's go back to the Brussels sprouts. Show of hands, who likes Brussels sprouts? Okay, that's good. Now, you don't have to steam them. Actually, a really good way to make Brussels sprouts, chop them up and bake them. A little roasting of the Brussels sprouts, get a little crispy texture. It's all in the preparation. It's a really good way to prepare them. Have you ever tried it? Okay, so option number 3 for dinner. Chicken and basically vegetables. You got a little fat from your olive oil. That's just what you're cooking your chicken in. So, like we were saying before, if you want to limit your complex carbs at nighttime, it's a really good way to help your body lean out. So if you go for a couple weeks or a month or 2 months of just focusing on protein and vegetables in the evening, you will get leaner as long as the rest of your diet is spot on. So that's a really good way to help your body shed some extra pounds, lean out. Just focus on eating your good lean proteins in the evening and a lot of vegetables. I mean, like 3/4 of your plate's vegetables. It's a really good way to do that. You're going to be really full. It's going to sit in your belly for a while and it should satisfy you until you go to bed.
With your snacks, if you find that you're hungry between meals, there's some pretty simple snacks on there, like have an apple, have some carrots and celery with hummus. Hummus you can overconsume, of course. It's like anything, if you're just taking big, huge scoops with it. It's just a little something for flavor, for taste when you're adding the hummus, you know, and dipping it in. So what a lot of times will work best is to look at the serving size for the hummus and, you know, then rationally just take that much out of the hummus container instead of just dipping out of the hummus container. Put it in a little bowl so that you know how much you're having, and it doesn't run away. You don't run away with it. 1/4 cup of nuts. Like you can get the bags over at the store where it's like little bags of nuts, and so those are like the actual serving sizes. That's the way to do it. It's a little extra packaging, and you kind of worry about the earth with all the extra packaging. But well, you know what? We're trying to regulate calorie intake, so for this instance, it's probably okay. You know, and then the green smoothie there for a snack, that can almost be like a meal replacement. If you're like, I don't have any food, what do? Make a green smoothie. So spinach, apples, and chia seeds. So anything else you want to add in there, or some protein powder, there you go. That's a nice, well-rounded little meal. It's not going to last very long in you. Like you probably got an hour to 2 hours before you're like, I'm starving. But it'll fill you up for a little while. It's good. It is really healthy for you. Late night snacks.
I'm going to touch on the nuts first. So back to the 1/4 cup of nuts thing. People generally have it's a good idea that nuts are really healthy fats, and they snack on them all the time. Some people have tubs of nuts next to their desk or whatever, and they just keep grabbing handfuls of nuts. It's really not a good way to go about it. It's just tons and tons of calories. You really want to limit how much nuts you're grabbing at a time. It's really easy to get 1,000 calories in with nuts if you just grab a couple handfuls. So you got to be really careful with how much nuts you're actually consuming at one time. It's a really common mistake is people just consume way too many nuts because they know they're healthy for them. It's still calories. You can still gain weight from eating too many nuts. So you got to be careful on how many nuts or seeds you're consuming at one time. Late night snacks. Now this is a tricky one because if you are hungry, you probably will have some kind of a sugar craving at night or carb craving. So the chia pudding is awesome. It doesn't have a lot of sugar in it, but it's gonna give you that feeling where you're having something sweet kind of. That's why it's called pudding. It's just yogurt, chia seeds, and a little bit of sweetener, maple syrup, agave nectar. They're very natural forms of sugar. And agave nectar actually has a very low glycemic index, meaning that breaks down slowly in your body, which means it doesn't convert into glucose as fast, so you're much less likely to store that as body fat, especially at nighttime. Give it a little vanilla, a little more sweetener. You want to let it sit because those chia seeds are going to take some time to soak up the moisture, and they will kind of expand and get a little softer. And that's why you want to let it soak or sit for a little while. And then adding some berries to it. Again, it takes a lot of berries to get a good amount of sugar out of it, so don't worry about the sugar in those berries. And that is a really good, satisfying snack late at night.
And then you notice too in the chia pudding that it says 1 cup of milk, and then coconut, almond, rice, or dairy. So it can be, coconut milk kind of adds a nice taste to it, but it can be any type of milk. If you do have dairy milk at home, you should not be buying fat-free milk. There's different research studies out there that show that people that consume full-fat dairy products will typically have lower body fat and cardiovascular issues and stuff than people that consume non-fat dairy products, strangely enough. So dairy fat isn't as bad for us as we might seem. The processing of the dairy to remove the fats is what's bad for you. So if you are going to have dairy, like with the cottage cheese, in the next option, half a cup to a full cup of 2% cottage cheese. You can even we have 4% milk fat cottage cheese at my house. Like that's the highest one they have over there. So yay! And the Daisy cottage cheese from Albertsons is delicious. A lot of people are like, cottage cheese is gross. If you think that, you should try the Daisy cottage cheese from Albertsons because it's really good, especially the 4% milk fat one. But you just, you only have like a half a cup. That's all you need though. It's potent, it's strong, it's good. Throw little berries in there. That's a nice little, that'll satisfy you late at night. Sometimes your body just needs that, right? The last option under late night snacks, sometimes you don't even need anything like food. You don't require calories, you just need something. Have a cup of tea. The same thing when people, some people are like, well, I have a glass of wine every night. I can't have a glass of wine. No, I don't know if you want to lose weight. Like your body just, if you drink, even that one glass, yeah, they say it's not bad for your health, but if you want to lose weight, you can't do it. But you're conditioned, you want something. Have a cup of tea. It works. Like it satiates you. You don't need to have maybe the food or the glass of wine or whatever if you have a cup of tea. And then it'll also make you ready for bed because there's lots of different ones that promote like a restful sleep. There's the bedtime blends, but there's also just like the ones I listed here that all those different kind of teas, the chamomile, valerian, lavender, those are supposed to like relax you and make you have a better night's sleep too.
So one thing with that, leading into the next part is water. You might not be drinking enough fluids throughout the day, but one important thing you should try not to do is drink water while you're eating. It actually washes away your digestive enzymes that you're producing while you're eating. So try to save your water intake for right before you eat and then after you eat. If you're thirsty during your meal, salads work really good to help kind of cleanse the palate a little bit. Fruit works really well. You're still producing digestive enzymes when you're eating that, versus drinking water with your meal. You're just washing away, so it's making it very difficult to digest and absorb your food properly if you're washing away digestive enzymes with your meal. And then sometimes if you eat a meal, feel like you're still hungry, just drink a bunch of water. Chances are you'll get full just from drinking water, or if you add a cup of tea into it after dinner, you probably fill up just from having that tea or that extra water. So how much water should everyone be drinking? 64 ounces is like a minimum for everyone. So it says right there, try to drink a gallon a day. Everybody should be, especially if you're working out, you're sweating, you're losing water weight during a workout. For every pound of body weight you lose during a workout, you should be drinking at least 20 ounces of water right afterward to replenish your fluid stores. So a gallon a day, especially for a very active person, is really on the safe side of how much fluid you should be having. And again, it will help you kind of feel full after a meal if you just consume some water.
And you get a cheat meal. It's good for you. It's good for your sanity. and it's good for your metabolism. There are numerous hormones going on in your body that start to change as you start to eat healthy. Okay, because you're having like it's a reduced calorie intake when you're eating healthy foods. They're not as calorically dense, right? And you're trying to avoid the foods that are really calorically dense. So one of the hormones that starts to go down is a hormone called leptin. This is a fat-burning hormone. If you're not consuming as many calories, your body's like, oh wow, we're not having as much, so let's not put out the fat-burning hormone as much. Then you have your cheat meal, and it's like, oh, whoa, extra calories, let's produce more leptin, let's get going. So that starts to boost that back up again. You want the fat-burning hormone boosted back up. Your thyroid-stimulating hormones, like the T3 and the T4, those start to diminish too as you go through the week and you're having a reduced calorie intake. And that cheat meal then will boost those back up, so that's good. There's two hormones that start dropping, or that start elevating, that you don't want to elevate. One of them is called ghrelin. Did I say it? Ghrelin? Anyway, it's the one that makes you feel hungry. Okay, so that one starts going up. Well, that makes sense, right? You're having lower calorie intake. You start feeling hungry as the week goes on. So the cheat meal helps that to suppress that production. And the other one is cortisol. Cortisol starts going up. It's a stress hormone, and you want that to be suppressed as well. Cortisol makes you actually retain your body fat. So seems kind of like productive. Like, well, I'm trying to eat healthy, and my body's producing a hormone that makes me hold my weight. Well, yeah, you think it's a survival instinct. If you're not getting as much food coming in, your body's like, we need to put out a hormone that helps this person hold on to their body fat because they're not finding enough food to eat, right? So you want to suppress that with the cheat meal as well. So you gotta have your cheat meal. And I wrote in there what my favorite foods are for cheat meals: cheeseburgers and fries and pizza. Yeah, it's whatever. It's your cheat meal. Enjoy it. But it's not a cheat day. It's not 2 meals. But it can be a meal and a dessert.
Include it in your meal.
But it's just that one little, I'm here right now, I'm cheating. And enjoy it, because it's great. So you see your grocery list. Under fruit, bananas has an asterisk on it because you're not eating bananas unless you're making those banana oatmeal cookies. Okay? Like, it's not like, please don't just chow down on bananas all day because they're really high in sugar. If you mix them with the oatmeal, then it's not so bad because you have the complex carb and you're having, it's only at one point of the day. The low-fat shredded cheese, there's an asterisk next to that as well, because it's like, don't start putting low-fat shredded cheese on everything. It's just for those sweet potato nachos, right? If you just limit it, it's like one of the easiest things when someone's like, what's one of the number one things I can get out of my diet to lose weight? Well, one of them is refined carbohydrates. The other one is cheese. Like, stop eating cheese. Really, I love cheese. Yeah, I bet. Everyone loves cheese. Who doesn't love cheese? My little boys live off of cheese. Anyway, so that's where those asterisks are for. So now we're done with the nutrition plan, so now we can move on to... Wait, does anyone have questions about that at all, for the nutrition plan? No one? Okay, great. Oh, everyone.
Just a quick question. For the almond, coconut, should we stick with unsweetened or just
Yeah, for coconut milk or almond milk, unsweetened, you just want it natural. You're trying to look at nutrition labels and things that have added sugar to it. You don't want that, right? Just, you want pure whole foods. Green tea? I mean, I don't know. I guess you could probably still try and see what it tastes like with the coconut oil and the butter in it. I don't know if it would make it horrible. It's probably got to be the same effect, right? It's a hot liquid with a little caffeine in it. So
try black tea also. It really varies on, how much of the food you're eating out of that. Like I said, it's like, look at meal option number 1 for breakfast. You might not be able to eat all that at first. It might be too filling. You're not trying to stuff yourself, and you're not trying to be hungry afterwards. So you might not get a whole half a cup of oatmeal, and you might not get 2 whole eggs in. So the calorie count, there's really no exact count. If you're eating the right foods, it doesn't really matter a whole lot.
In the fitness and weight loss world, we really focused on counting calories for a long time, and then there was a shift to like, wait a second, maybe it's not just like, consuming 2,000 calories in a day and, oh yeah, you should lose weight. it seemed like there was something else that was important, and it turns out it's the type of foods that you're eating, not necessarily how many calories you're ingesting. You know, if you're eating the right foods make your metabolism start spinning more and your digestive system moving faster, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, I'm eating all day long and I feel like I'm eating way more than I ever used to and I'm losing weight. This is great. Yeah, it's so there's always a shift in what we understand, what works best. And it really is more about the type of foods and the type of carbohydrates that you're eating and the healthy fats that you're getting into your diet. And that's, kind of the aspect that you want to hold on to. And like he was saying, you don't want to overeat. So you're like, oh, I'm so full. Like, you're probably going to end up overeating your calories in a day if you do that. So just, eat till you're comfortable.
People tend to be really focused on their calorie count, like how many calories should I be eating? This isn't really focused around that. So you can imagine if you want to lose weight, and you eat, say, a 2,000 calorie diet of this type of food versus a 2,000 calorie diet of Twinkies, you're still at 2,000 calories. What do you think you're going to lose weight with, the Twinkies or a well-balanced nutrition plan?
Anyone else?
You have fish or just no meat at all?
Sometimes, but like I try to limit it.
So you just limit your meats, basically?
Yeah, I haven't eaten red meat for 15 years.
So it's still very possible to get your protein requirements met through plants. So you just have to combine the right foods. For example, a grain and a bean is a complete protein. Mushrooms, actually portobello mushrooms, contain quite a bit of protein for how big they are. So you just have to do maybe a little bit of research on plant proteins and then combining the right proteins to get a complete protein.
Interestingly enough, I read research recently that they had 4 different groups of people, different types of diets, and they tracked them over 6 months. So one was the typical omnivore diet with meats and carbohydrates and vegetables, but well balanced and healthy, kind of like this. There was the pesco vegetarian, which is fish, and then a vegetarian style diet with some animal products like eggs and some dairy and stuff like that. And then there's the vegetarian diet, which they're not having any fish, but they're having some dairy and some eggs. And then there's straight up vegan, which is like there's absolutely no animal products going into their bodies. And they tracked all 4 groups across 6 months, and the vegan people lost the most weight, with exercise being the same amount for all of them. So carbs aren't the worst thing for you, right? I mean, they're not. It's just being healthy. If your body's healthy, and that's one of the things what the research was, what they're trying to draw to conclusion is like, because the vegan diet, like it's just straight, so pure. Your body can be so healthy on a vegan diet. And maybe that's the key, right? Just trying to be super duper healthy, and then your body can do what it's supposed to do. It can get rid of the excess fat, and you can live healthily.
Yeah, with vegan diets too, you're really, really cutting out. If you're truly doing a vegan diet, you're really cutting out pretty much all processing of any types of foods, especially if it's animal products. There's some processing in cheeses and cottage cheese and yogurt. There's still processing in that. So if you're not eating any animal products, you're probably not eating any processed food at all.
Processed food makes you gain weight. If you don't make it, it makes you gain weight. It's the way it is. Our bodies don't like it. It's like putting ingredients in your gas tank that aren't supposed to be there. Your engine doesn't function properly. Okay.
I have one question.
Yeah.
Can you do turkey, ground turkey,
Yeah.
as opposed to meat, but meat?
So it's actually much leaner, and the protein content is higher with ground turkey and ground beef.
Although I've noticed it's hard to find like organic turkey.
Yeah.
Like I never see it anywhere.
Also, one drawback to that is there's a lot of recalls on ground turkey for salmonella. It happens a lot. So make sure you cook it really, really well.
You're like, I feel funny. Okay, so the habits that impede weight loss. Sometimes it's just really important to figure out what you're not supposed to do in order to succeed, right? So we made a little list here of all the things that you're not supposed to do, like not eating breakfast. The Bulletproof coffee has a bunch of calories coming in from healthy fats. So that's kind of like eating breakfast, especially if you're going to combine it with a grapefruit or a hard-boiled egg or something like that. So you're eating breakfast, okay? So you're doing that. But just completely skipping breakfast and maybe having just straight black coffee, not good for you, right? Eating very little for the first half of the day. Unless you are going to, like, what we did with the first 3 days here, we did the 3-day detox diet. You had fruits and vegetables. So you're not eating as many calories when you're doing that, but you're getting a lot of fiber coming through your system, so it's a lot different, and it sets you up so like when the end of the day comes and you know you're going to eat a nice, healthy, well-balanced meal, you're not just like, I got to eat so much, oh my gosh, I need more carbs, because you were doing the fruits and vegetables all day. But if you go all day and you don't really eat, you're going to blow it at night. Like 9 times out of 10, it's almost impossible to control yourself if you have eaten all day. So like same thing there, if you don't eat for long periods of time, maybe you eat breakfast and then you go to work and, oh my gosh, I haven't eaten yet today and I'm leaving now, like that's not good, like, right? So that's where the meal prepping comes in too. If you got a Tupperware sitting there and it's like, oh well, I can just freaking eat this, it's a lot easier than trying to figure out, well, what am I supposed to eat? So having the meals there ready, hardly eat all day and then go to the gym and work out and then binge. I don't know. Like that seems like it's pretty easy to do, especially after not eating much, hard workout, super hungry. Yeah. Okay. So there's that.
So touching back on the breakfast subject, so that tends to be a huge problem for people when they start trying to eat more meals throughout the day, say 5 or 6 meals. You skip breakfast, you're not starting your metabolism in the morning, and a lot of times people just aren't hungry in the morning. So show of hands, who drinks water before they do anything else involved with food or coffee or anything in the morning? So that's a really good idea, is first just wake up and drink a bunch of water. That's going to get your stomach working, it's going to start your metabolism a little bit. Chances are you'll be hungry in about 20-30 minutes if you're not typically hungry in the morning. Just try drinking a bunch of water first. It will generally make you hungry in about, like I said, 20 to 30 minutes. It's a really good idea. So don't drink your coffee first, drink some water first, and have your coffee. So, down to binge eating at night. Kind of what we were saying is make sure you're getting those meals in throughout the day so you don't have to eat a whole bunch of food at night and consume way too many calories for your body to handle. If you consume too many calories, you're just going to store that excess as fat, which is what we're trying to avoid by eating more meals throughout the day. Eating while you're not thinking about it, mindless eating, like grabbing handfuls of nuts while you're at your desk or watching TV, just eating without really thinking or eating for no purpose. Try to avoid that. And then the weekends, this is a big one. So you do good all week. You're on your meal plan, eating the right foods, and the weekend comes around, you're going to go out and you're going to eat at restaurants, you're going to have drinks, and you just consumed as many calories on the weekend as you consumed during the whole week. So try to avoid that.
With alcohol, it's best to stay away while you're trying to lose weight, like we mentioned before. Alcohol and binge eating seem to go hand in hand. A couple of drinks and all of a sudden you're ready to order those wings and the sliders and other foods that you probably shouldn't be having. It's the same thing at home, like if you have a couple glasses of wine, maybe it's your cheat day and you're like, well, I'm going to have a couple glasses of wine tonight. It just makes you hungry. Even if you're not hungry, you think you're hungry, and then you're trying to find crackers or something like that, right? So try to stay away from alcohol while you're trying to lose weight. It's pretty important. Let's see here. Eating out at restaurants is usually always binge eating. It is possible to be very controlled at a restaurant and order very specific things and say, no, I don't want anything on your menu. I want these 4 ingredients on a plate. Can I eat? Thank you. Like, you can do that, right? But does that ever really happen? And then, for the most part, you don't know how they're cooking it and how they're preparing it, so they're probably putting stuff in that you don't want, and its portions are way out of control. So it's almost right. You gotta eat at home, unless it's your cheat meal. So if you're stuck without food and it's the middle of the week and you have to eat, try and do your best to order healthy at a restaurant. I mean, you're stuck. You got to do something. You got to eat. Otherwise, you can't survive. Sometimes I just make myself starve, and then I get really grumpy. But, and you know, so just planning ahead to not have to use a restaurant as your go-to is going to make you have a lot more success with this.
So to touch back on the alcohol subject, the reason why you want to avoid alcohol if you're trying to lose weight or trying to lose body fat, if you consume alcohol, the way your body metabolizes the alcohol, it turns it into fat. That's pretty much what happens. And it turns it into visceral fat. Visceral fat is underneath your muscle. You guys have all heard of beer belly. That's a real thing. It's a very hard fat underneath your muscle that surrounds your guts. That's where your alcohol goes. It turns into fat immediately. It's very hard to avoid that, especially if you're not being active. So just avoid the alcohol.
Alcohol suppresses leptin too, the fat burning hormone. And alcohol affects your liver, as you know, and your liver is also part of the fat metabolism process. And alcohol takes like 24 hours to get out of your system. So for 24 hours, your liver does not have a priority for metabolizing fats because it's still trying to process toxins.
It's a lose-lose-lose. Okay, nighttime grazing. If you're not hungry but you're bored, try the tea. If you just want something to snack on, or you just want to have something, you know, going in your mouth, try the tea. No calories. It's gonna have something in your hand, something going in your mouth. You're probably not hungry. Try that. Grazing on snack foods. Try the vegetables. I know it doesn't sound very fun, but it's gonna fill you up. It's gonna be a very low calorie count. Something like celery, for example, is what they call a negative calorie food. So what you have to realize about eating more times throughout the day, why it raises your metabolism in part because you're burning calories just consuming food. So if you consume 500 calories in a meal, you burn 10% of that, 50 calories, just consuming the food and digesting it. So snack foods such as celery or cucumbers, something that are almost no calories at all, you're going to burn calories just consuming them. So try to avoid those processed, you know, chips and crackers, stuff like that. That doesn't give you any nutrients whatsoever.
And just remember that crackers and chips are made by the devil. They are. No one eats crackers and chips and doesn't gain weight. It's just all the ingredients in crackers and chips make you gain weight. It's horrible. They're tasty, but they're not going to help you. Healthy desserts and healthy snack foods, they're processed, right? Like unless you're making something like the oatmeal banana cookies or the chia pudding, and then that can be, you know, considered your healthy snack. But like once again, if you just the word grazing here, kind of like if those oatmeal banana cookies are in the fridge and you don't really eat dinner, and then you have a couple of cookies because you're trying to do stuff, and then half hour later you're like, I'm hungry again. You have a couple more, and then half hour later, I'm hungry again. And it'll keep happening, right? Because you're not having a solid meal. So that food is digesting quickly, and your stomach's empty again, and you're hungry. So that's the whole problem with grazing. So even if you were making the healthy snack food, you got to have those meals. Pretty important about this whole process here.
So liquid calories, coffee drinks, Starbucks, the mochas or lattes or frappuccinos, all that stuff is just liquid calories. You're just consuming calories, you're not going to get full, you're just pumping in the sugar. Stay away from that. Soda, same thing. It doesn't matter if it's diet, your body's going to treat it the same way, you're going to gain weight from it. So avoid sodas, try to avoid juices unless you're making the juice yourself. So fresh squeezed juice, good to go. Don't drink too much of it. Again, it's very easy to consume too many calories and too much sugar by consuming juice. It's way too easy. And then back to the alcohol. Touched on that pretty good. Just try to avoid it.
So this next one, overeating due to exercise. Exercising boosts your metabolism. And so if you don't follow a nutrition program, when you're on an exercise program like this one, you'll start overeating. Because your metabolism is going up, so you're burning more calories, and you're like, wow, I'm hungry. So if you eat the wrong food while you're hungry, you're like, I'm working out so hard, how come I'm losing weight? you're not eating the right foods. You're actually eating more of the wrong foods. So it's really important to follow the nutrition plan while you're doing these workouts. That's the really way you're gonna like double your effects. You know, you're burning calories, you're boosting your metabolism, and then the eating just falls right in line, and all of a sudden the weight's just coming right off you. Okay. So yeah, that's pretty much all those bullet points in like synopsis there. One thing there you can see in parentheses: 100 calories equals 10 minutes of burpees. What?
Who wants to do 10 minutes of burpees?
So those little 100-calorie snack bars, and you know they're like, oh, it's only 100 calories, right? And they sell them over at the store, and you buy those and you eat them. 10 minutes of burpees to work one of those off. That sounds like fun, huh? Doesn't make it sound very worth it, does it? Then the last bullet point, you know, is having a horrible meal because you know you're gonna go, I'll work it off tomorrow. Right, but then, you know, you're never gaining any ground because you're always trying to erase the things you did before. So, and you know, it's like just with the whole burpees and 100 calories thing, how much is in that meal? If you have a 1,000-calorie meal because it's a horrible meal, like you're probably not going to be able to burn that 1,000. If you push hard, you can burn 1,000 calories in boot camp, but that's a hard push. Like you got to be really working the whole time. So they don't equate.
So yeah, the reward system when you're in an exercise program, don't reward yourself because you had a good workout. You want to reward yourself by eating properly. So you see up here, you want your body to change, your diet has to change. So if you want to change your physique, you need to change your diet. You cannot exercise your way out of a bad diet. It just doesn't work. So you look at bodybuilders or physique competitors, they can have the most perfect workout in the world. If their nutrition plan isn't 100% right on, they're not going to look like that. So it goes hand in hand. Down to not enough sleep. Sleep deprivation, a couple things with that. You're increasing your cortisol, so you're going to gain weight, gain some fat. Also, if you're not sleeping enough, your body doesn't go through a recovery process. When you go through cycles of sleep or REM sleep, your body actually completely shuts down. Your muscles become, basically your muscles aren't working. That's when you start to repair and recover. So if you're not sleeping enough, you're doing a couple bad things. You're going to gain weight, your cortisols are going to go up, plus you're not recovering from your workouts properly. So make sure you get 7 to 8 hours of sleep in every night as much as possible. Sleep deprivation, you're going to feel hungrier, and you're probably going to crave more sugars and carbs. Not really going to sleep.
Yeah, so those late night carb cravings, sometimes just, you gotta go to bed. Just go to sleep. Drink your tea, go to sleep. Questions?
So are you saying that we should normally eat like every 2 to 3 hours or 3 hours, like 5 times a day?
Yeah, so if your eating intervals they're really your own, and whatever your metabolism is moving at. If you're hungry, it's a good sign your metabolism is moving, and or you ate something that wasn't a huge calorie load, wasn't just a lump in your stomach, and your body was able to digest it quickly and run it through. And then you're like, whoa, I'm hungry again. And as you start eating really healthy, and with these workouts, the timing between your meals will decrease. And all this, like maybe you start off eating 4 hours apart, and then it's all 3 hours. Like, wow, every 2 hours now I'm hungry. This is crazy. I'm eating so much. Like that means you're winning.
Also, if you consume too much dietary fat in your meals, fat slows down gastric emptying, or how fast your body digests your food. So if you're consuming too much, especially saturated fat, if you have too much saturated fat in your meals, you're going to be full for a very long time. You want to try to avoid that. You want to be hungry in 2 to 3 hours. And if you have more fat in your diet, you will not be hungry in 2 to 3 hours.
You guys eat peanut butter for oatmeal banana cookies?
Yeah, I mean, if it's the healthy peanut butter, should be all right.
Again, like I just said, you want to avoid putting too much fat in there, because too much fat is a lot of calories. So you have to really kind of portion out how much protein you want in those cookies. And nuts is not a really good source of protein because you're always going to consume more fat than protein from the nuts. So you have to be careful with that.
Okay, last one.
Is the coffee that you want us to be energetic, or is it?
Elevate your metabolism. Yeah, so the coffee, is just another way to boost your metabolism up. Like I say, the caffeine will help to get your body moving a little bit more. It also, like the fats in there will help your brain to keep moving. And so yeah, like for me, when I have the Bulletproof coffee, I'm hungry all day. I'm just like so hungry. I just can't eat enough food. Like my metabolism is just rolling after that. And but like I say, it affects everyone a little differently. Everyone's body's a little different. So if you're not hungry afterwards, don't feel like, well, I'm supposed to eat. No, you're not. It's fine. If you're not hungry, don't eat. But you want to have something with it, because that's how you get metabolism going, is by eating something. It's like we mentioned the grapefruit. Oranges also have the same ingredient in it, not as high as the grapefruit does. But even tomatoes have that same ingredient in it, the naringerin, and too hard to pronounce. Anyway, so, you know, if not a grapefruit, then an orange. If not an orange, then a tomato. Or a lemon. Have a nice lemon for breakfast. Okay? Yeah.
So what if you work away and you so usually I'll try and have like a snack or like a little meal at 4 or 5 and then get here. What if you're hungry after you work out? Is it okay to have one of these little snacks?
Mm-hmm.
Do you recommend?
The two best times of the day to utilize the food that you're eating is in the morning when you wake up and after your workout. Those are the two times when your body is fasted, right? So like that's why they call it breakfast, because you haven't eaten for a long time, so your body, I can take that food and use it right now. And the same thing after your workout, you just spent all your energy. Your body, please feed me. And so it doesn't have the potential to go to stored fat. Like, of course, you could always overeat your post-workout meal and then have some of that go to stored fat. But your body will use it. It puts the energy in your muscles. It puts it in your liver as ready energy to use. And so it's good. It's good to consume those calories after your workout.
Kind of on that subject, proper nutrition before and after your workouts is very important. You come into the gym and you haven't eaten in 4 hours, you probably don't have too much circulating blood sugar. Your blood sugar will drop during your workout. Your body has to produce those sugars to make your muscles work. That's what you're trying to avoid. So getting into a deeper physiology level, your body will actually break down your muscle tissue in order to create carbohydrates. You want to avoid that. You're trying to create muscle mass, which is boosting your metabolism. So even after your workout, if you're not eating the proper nutrition after your workout, you're not repairing your muscles the way you should. So even if you deplete your, if you avoid carbohydrates after your workout, your body still has to manufacture. So it's gonna dig into your muscle stores and break down your muscle mass just to create carbohydrates. So you really got to make sure you have the proper nutrition before and after your workouts to get the most out of it.
What would be optimal meals before and after your workout for a
So
snack?
I can't really say exactly what you should eat because everybody's going to be different. Everybody's going to react to foods differently. I just know that you should be trying to have a slow digesting carbohydrate with a little bit of protein prior to your workout. You want to try to avoid fats in your meals before and after your workout. Like I said, fats will delay your nutrients going through and absorbing. So a good carbohydrate before with some protein, and then typically bananas are pretty good after your workout. Again, those banana oatmeal cookies would be a really good post-workout, plus a protein shake, something that's going to absorb and digest pretty quickly. But everybody's different. It's when it comes to sports nutrition, there's not like a specific meal everybody should be eating. You kind of have to play with different foods and see what your body likes.
So I usually have a protein shake before I go to bed, and sometimes that winds up being because I usually come to the gym so late at night and I don't have dinner.
You don't have the 3 hours before?
No, because of my work schedule. I get off work at 5, and then sometimes I don't get here to the gym until 6, and sometimes I don't leave until like 7:30. And then when I get home, I do homework, and then I just go to bed.
So what do you have in your shake?
I have my shake. I usually have it like right after my workout, and then I go do my homework, and then I just wind up falling asleep. And that's it. It usually winds up being my dinner.
So that's just protein you have?
Yeah.
So that's much better than not having anything. But again, you're you're kind of starving your body of the carbohydrates. You might need a little bit after you're done working out.
Well, you've got like the green smoothie. Try and do that, right? So there are things that will digest faster. Like I was saying, like that green smoothie digests pretty quick. But there's spinach and apple. You know, you're throwing some of the chia seeds in there for the healthy fats and a scoop of protein. There you go. And so that'll digest a little quicker. So yeah, if you don't have the 3-hour window if you work out late at night and you don't have 3 hours before bedtime to eat, then try and do that. But you know, I would be willing. I kind of wonder if you might have time, but you're just doing other things, because it's kind of hard to work out and then without 3 hours go fall asleep. Right? Like if you do a good workout and then like an hour and a half later you're trying to lie down in bed, usually you're still spinning from that workout. So if you meal prep and then you can just go home and pop that Tupperware, dig in, and you're like, oh, sure enough, I still got 2.5 hours left before bed. Maybe. You know, so just think of, you know, if you can meal prep it, and if you don't, just do a smoothie.
So there are a lot of protein powders out there. There are a ton of supplement companies. When it comes to protein powder, we have pretty good ones here that are the natural type of protein. They don't have artificial sweeteners. They don't have artificial flavors. That's what you want to try to avoid. It should be as natural and as pure as possible. The ones we have here are really good. So you really need to look at labels when you're purchasing a protein powder. If there's any sucralose or acesulfame potassium or any artificial sweeteners or flavors or dyes or anything in there, you want to try to avoid them.
What about like big workouts?
Such as green tea is probably one of the best things. It's very natural, pure, gives you a little bit of energy, it makes you feel pretty good.
Green tea extract, not like drinking green tea. But like we sell green tea extract pills over there. There's like green tea fat burners that have other stuff in there. But if you're looking for a boost, it's just you want caffeine. Like the pre-workout like powders that are sold, they have all these other like chemicals in there that are supposed to like, you know, dilate your muscles and your blood vessels and, you know, give you all this other energy. Like, but it comes at a cost. It's like they're just milking your adrenal glands, and it's, yeah. Whenever something brings you up, it's going to let you down. You know, so if you can avoid that huge spike in, you know, in your day, then you'll have a more easy output after that.
Most pre-workouts also are very hard on your digestive tract. There's a lot of additives in there they don't tell you about. Pretty hard on you.
Any other questions? No? Man, we covered everything.
What about like when you season your food, it's just regular salt and pepper, or nothing?
Sea salt. Himalayan pink sea salt's good. You got to grind your pepper. Pretty much all pepper that you're not using a pepper mill on is considered rancid. I don't know if you guys do that, but you're supposed to grind your own pepper. You should use sea salt or pink Himalayan sea salt. There are lots of different herbs and spices that you can use on your food. If you buy the blends, you have to read the ingredients to make sure they haven't put a bunch of chemicals in the blend. But yeah, spice it up, for sure. Sriracha's pretty awesome. I put sriracha on everything. Anything else? Yes, no? Okay.
All right.
7 o'clock boot camp starting now. Everyone go!